And we're just going to cook up a whole bunch of great recipes with coffee and also show you what to do with those coffee beans. We've got some fun ideas. Not only am I a sucker for a good cup of coffee, I also love a nice piece of coffee cake. So sometimes on a Sunday morning and you're just thinking about what to make and you don't want to run to the grocery store, this recipe is perfect. It's a quick, easy coffee cake, and what I love about it is it's got a great little streusel topping on top. It's a blueberry coffee cake, but you completely, if you don't have blueberries or they're out of season, you could substitute raspberries or leave out the berries altogether and just do a wonderful, it's like a cinnamon, sugar, sour cream, moist, wonderful coffee cake. So one more sip of this cup of joe and I'm going to get to work, or else this coffee cake will never get done. All right, so I'm going to melt 1 stick of butter. We're going to do the streusel topping, which really, from pies to muffins to coffee cake, it's all about the streusel topping, right? So I'm just going to microwave that quick. And I want to check on the coffee cake I have in the oven because I don't want to overdo it. Yeah, I'm going to give that just a little bit longer. Baking it on 350, so I'm just going to turn it. When you're baking, don't be afraid to get in there and adjust your rack or turn things a little bit. Okay, just want to melt that 1 stick of butter. Sometimes when I'm making chocolate chip cookies, which go really nicely with coffee, I might add, you have to adjust those cookie trays in the oven, especially if you've got a couple of them. Put the bottom one on the top and the top one to the bottom. Don't be afraid to move things around. It really, when it comes to baking, it's A-okay to do that, unless you're doing, a really moist cake and you're worried about it falling. Okay, so I'm just melting this butter, and I'm going to get to that streusel topping. 1 stick of melted butter. I've got a cup and a third of just regular all-purpose flour, so I'm going to add my melted butter. I've got a 1/4 cup of regular granulated sugar, a 1/3 cup of brown sugar, and then just about a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. So that's my streusel topping. Real easy. Just use a fork and get that all together. Invest in some good cinnamon if you do a lot of baking. It really makes a difference. There's so many great cinnamons out there right now. Sometimes I'll put a little cinnamon on top of my coffee. Yum. Okay, so there's my streusel topping. Just a little bit crumbly is what we're looking for. Perfect. All right, let's get to the cake itself. So you can do this in an 8-inch square pan or a 9-inch square pan or an 8-inch round or 9-inch round pan. It's up to you what you have. You could even do this in like an 8-inch springform pan, the kind that you do cheesecake in. That would work fine. So I just want to grease or spray my pan, do a little bit of flour like you do when you're baking a cake. And you know me, I love to cook. When it comes to baking, I'm not the, it's just not my bag, I would say. So if I can do this coffee cake, you can do it. All right, so my cake pan greased and floured, and let's get to the cake itself. So we've got some flour here, and I'm going to sift together. The reason I'm going to do this, you ever had like, I don't know, banana bread or zucchini bread or something like that, and you didn't sift together we've got baking soda, baking powder, and salt. You didn't sift those together and you get this kind of nasty soapy bite. If you sift those together like that, just in one quick, easy little step, really takes care of getting any, mixes it together well so you don't get one of those little bites. That was the problem. Okay. Now I got the mixer out. I'm getting the hang of it. I really am. I don't have one of these big KitchenAids at home, so I just, use my little hand mixer, which I happen to love. But I'm learning. All right, so I'm going to get into my mixer 6 tablespoons of room temperature butter. I've been learning from my pastry chefs here that it's so important if you're thinking about doing any baking to, try and pull that butter out of the refrigerator and get it softened, and some sugar. I'm just going to cream that together with my mixer so it gets light and fluffy. And what I like about this recipe, as I said, is you pretty much have all of these ingredients on hand. The only thing you may not have on hand are the blueberries, so leave them out. Not a big deal in this recipe. You know, I love blueberry muffins, so this coffee cake is right up my alley, being a blueberry streusel coffee cake. But, you know, it's one of those mornings, Saturday, Sunday morning, you're craving something sweet. Look in your pantry, you've got a stick of butter, you've got some flour, baking soda, baking powder, some vanilla, a couple eggs, sugar, and voila, you have a really yummy coffee cake and your house smells wonderful. All right, so just want that to get a little bit fluffy. I'm also learning from my pastry chefs that 1 egg at a time. So the recipe calls for 2 eggs, so we're going to get 1 in here. That way it doesn't chill down the butter. I really respect all the pastry chefs I work with. They know their stuff. Whole different can of worms, ball of wax, whatever you want to say. Okay. This baking stuff is kind of scientific. Okay. Now I'm going to add some sour cream. Recipe calls for 2/3 of a cup of sour cream. That's going to keep this really nice and moist. Keep the cake from drying out. You know, a lot of the coffee places that I visited in Seattle not only did coffee, but they did amazing scratch bakery. So that's kind of part of the thing there, from homemade scones to muffins and coffee cakes. So there are just some really special little neighborhood spots. And the same goes for a lot of our little local coffee shops here. You know, so I always ask, you know, at the coffee shop, do you make that homemade? And if they do, I might be having a piece of that coffee cake or that muffin or scone. All right, the recipe calls for a teaspoon of vanilla. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. I always go heavy on the vanilla. All right. I'm going to turn this down and gradually add in our flour mixture. By the way, if you know of a great local coffee shop, I need to know about it. I know about quite a few of them, and I am a regular at a lot of them. You know, in my wallet, I have those frequent, I love those cards where, you know, you buy 12 cups of coffee and you get the 13th free. I don't know. I like that. It's fun, especially when they fill up. But in my wallet, I've got about 6 or so of just those local great coffee shops that do that. And I like to switch it up. I like to try different places, but I'm always looking for new places, even if there's a little bit of drive involved. That's actually kind of fun too. Bob and I will, you know, hit the road in search of a great cup of coffee. In fact, one time in Milwaukee, we were staying down there. I don't know, you had some sort of a legal conference or something. And I Googled best cup of coffee in Milwaukee. Well, my gosh, it ended up taking us like an hour and a half away. And halfway through, he's like, "Are you serious? I think we could have probably found a pretty darn good cup of coffee a lot closer to the hotel." But it was worth the drive. It turned out to be one of the best cups I've had. So I'm willing to drive. Okay, so this is looking great. Perfect. Let's get the batter off there and get this into our pan. And at this point, we want to fold the blueberries in. Now, I always get questions about, you know, if I don't have fresh blueberries, can you use the frozen ones? Absolutely, but I would use them frozen in this recipe. If you let them thaw, they tend to get, you agree with that, Lindsay? Yeah. Lindsay Brooks is one of our great area pastry chefs, does weddings and things like that, and she's going to do some Kahlua brownies with a mocha icing in just a few minutes. But I think that when you let the frozen, not in all recipes, but when you're baking, a lot of times if you let that fruit thaw, it becomes just really, well, your coffee cake will turn purple for one thing, and if you're using blueberries, but they just get a little bit too soft and mushy. All right, so that's it. I'm going to fold in the blueberries, get this into my greased pan, get the streusel on top. See if I can do this. Look at how easy this is. This is easy. Ireland is always, man, especially on the weekends, Mom, let's make something new and special. And she loves blueberries, so this is a winner. And I don't even have to get out of my pajamas in a Sunday morning. I can read the paper, make this coffee cake. It's all good. Okay, so spread that out. The only problem with this coffee cake, see how it's pretty dense? It's going to take a little while to bake, so just enjoy your cup of coffee, read the paper. Thank you, Deb. And be patient. It's going to be worth it in the end. And I think really the best way to get the streusel topping, Deb, do you agree with me? Just kind of use your fingers?
Yes.
Yes, all right, good. Just a scab that. See, there's a lot, no skimping on the streusel. That's how I like it. But anyway, 350 oven, and it takes about 50 minutes. Kind of do the toothpick test. And it's not going to get real brown, so just needs, that cake needs to be cooked through. And this crumb topping, ho ho, ho ho ho. My downfall. Okay, into the oven this goes. And let me show you what it looks like when it comes out. Can't wait to have a piece of this with my coffee. Oh yeah. Now we're talking. And I'll cut into it in just a minute and I'll show you what it looks like inside. But there you go. It's my blueberry streusel coffee cake and that wonderful crumb topping on top. Recipes on our website. You can also pick it up at any Festival of Foods.